Hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks. And Todd Talks, people listen. He's a phantom. Hopefully. And today we have a very interesting matchup to talk about in regards to what's coming up on Death Battle because it is Danny Phantom versus the American Dragon, Jake Long. Now, I noticed on the Death Battle Twitter they said this is a battle 20 years in the making. Now, I don't remember it that way because I liked both of these shows, even though I apparently missed both of their series finales. Oops. But what can I say? They had erratic, schedules back then. Anyway, but yes, this is Nickelodeon versus Disney Channel, and of course you throw in Cartoon Network. This was the big three of cartoons back in the day. Now, not so much, but this is gonna be a fun matchup no matter what. And so let's get it started. Yo, Danny Phantom, he was just 13, 14, 14, he was 14. Just 14 when his parents built a very strange machine. It was designed to view a world unseen. He's gonna catch 'em all 'cause he's Danny Phantom. What didn't quite work, his folks they just quit. But then Dane took a look inside of it. There was a great big flash. Everything just changed. His molecules got all rearranged. When he first woke up, he realized he had snow white hair and glowing green eyes. He could walk through walls, disappear, and fly. He's much more unique than the other guy. It was then that he knew what he had to do. Yeah, stop all the ghosts that was coming through. He's here to fight for me and you. He's gonna catch 'em all 'cause he's Danny Phantom. Gonna catch 'em all 'cause he's Danny Phantom. Gonna catch 'em all 'cause he's Danny Phantom. Wah, 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 wah. See, I still remember things. The Jake Long one's a little trickier, so I won't be singing that one anyway. But yes, Danny Fenton was the son of ghost hunters and explorers, I guess, and they designed a thing called the Ghost Portal. But because his father's kind of an idiot, a little bit, they just didn't realize that it was actually work. They put the on switch in the portal. Hello, you don't do that. Anyway, but Danny went in and he became what is known as a Haffa, which is half a ghost, half a human. And because of this, he is able to shift his body between the human form and the ghost form. Now, originally, because he was one of the first Haffas ever, not the first, one of, he had a little bit of trouble controlling his powers. He would phase through walls, his pants would drop in front of a girl because it's a cartoon, you have to do that kind of stuff. But eventually he started to gain a handle on his abilities. And as the ghost literally started coming through, he had to become the impromptu protector of not just his home, but the entire world, because these ghosts from the ghost zone were incredibly powerful. Now, one of the things that needs to be said right off is that these ghosts, more times than not, can only be heard by another ghost. All right, so think of it like this: a human cannot touch a ghost, and a ghost cannot, but a ghost can touch a human as long as they're in the human world. Now, if a human goes into the ghost zone, the ghosts can't touch the humans. Okay, because the ghosts are still on their turf, which is their tangible turf, whereas the humans are the ghosts. It's really weird, but hey, that's cartoons for you. Anyway, so when the ghosts come into the human world, they can of course wreak havoc, which is why Danny had to step up his game and defeat them all, and then catch them via the Spectre Thermos, which was awesome, and a whole bunch of other gadgets in order to defeat them and send them back to the ghost zone where they belonged. Now, uh, the good thing for Danny is that in his ghost form, he is more than just a ghost. Because when we think of ghosts, we think of just like intangible, specters. They can occasionally possess objects or even people. But Danny's abilities, and of course all the ghosts in the ghost zone, have a wide variety of powers. All right, depending not unlike their species and their type, not unlike a Pokemon. But for Danny, his go-to is his Ectoblast or his Ghost Rays or however you want to call it. All right, they are refined, focused blasts of Ecto energy. Okay, you're gonna be hearing Ecto a lot in this battle, but he can shoot them like laser beams. He can shoot them in think of like repulsor blasts from Iron Man. He is able to do. He could put them in ball shapes. He can actually make constructs like Destructo discs. His rival Vlad Plasmius can do like a Green Lantern thing and turn Ecto energy into constructs like a fly swatter or a boxing glove or whatever you want to think of. Um, because of his Ecto form, he can be intangible. He can be malleable. A common trick is he'll like elongate his body to a natural shape so that he can dodge things like lasers. He can of course go invisible, but ghosts can see him. All right, ghosts and of course certain other human gadgets, which I'll be getting to soon, can see him. He has he has energy projections of various kinds. As noted, he has a ghost shield, which can protect him from both ghost attacks and other elemental attacks, which I will be again diving into. He has his arguably his best attack. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna wait for that. He has cryomancy abilities. Now, this is a little bit weird because you think, oh, why does a ghost have cryomancy? Well, this was an ability he eventually learned. Okay, so he had Ecto fire, which he can use to burn various things. But after getting trained by a frostbite, kid you not, um, and the warriors of his of the island of like far something far away or something like that. He was trained to use ice powers, and I mean like legit ice powers. This ice was so powerful it could stop fire. In one case, he blew up a monster known as Undergrowth and literally covered the city in ice. All right, it's an ice trick. So yeah, but and then of course, because he's in a ghost form, he has a natural increase in his durability, agility, speed, reflexes, strength. He was able to punch through reinforced titanium. And in the beginning of the series, he was able to go about 112 miles per hour. It was documented as that. But he got faster as the series went on. He was able to, with a single punch or kick, launch enemies into the horizon. If you remember Machamp, he could do the same thing. He was able to punch down a giant mech suit from Technus. Uh, he's able to dodge lasers, as I mentioned. He can. I'm trying to think of all the good ones. It's so hard when honestly, Danny Phantom has a long history. 3 seasons is a long time, plus the movies and everything. So also, Danny is actually just really quite smart. He never really got trained in his ghost abilities, which you'd think would be a hindrance, but especially in a cartoon. But that only really happened at the beginning when he wasn't, sure of how to control everything. But as he grew on, in this series and the various movies and all that, he eventually became incredibly powerful, incredibly smart. He is able to think on the fly, make complex plans, understand his own abilities and how to counter the abilities of other ghosts, and more. And his two greatest abilities that he uses to good effect are Overshadow and the Ghostly Wail. Now, Overshadow is just what you think of it. He casts this giant shadow over. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Overshadow is when he possesses a person. Now, when he possesses a person, he can literally take their form and move them around like a puppet. All right, so kind of standard ghost stuff. But what the trick is that when he leaves the body, nobody knows what happened. All right. The only case that this didn't technically work was Vlad possessed Jack, Danny's father, his body, and Jack somehow realized it was Vlad that was possessing him. No one really explained that. There's a lot of inexplicable stuff in Danny Phantom, but this was the only time. Well, when Danny does it, 100% of the time, no one remembers that they're being possessed by him, and so because of that, he can control their body and do various things. So that's a very powerful thing. Now, the Ghostly Wail is his number one attack. It was an ability first revealed to him by his doppelganger slash dark double. I gotta say this correctly. No, his dark double of the future, Dark Danny. Okay, long story short, in an alternate timeline, Danny accidentally causes the death of his family, and that drives him kind of crazy. He goes after Vlad Plasmius. When he can't help bring him back to life, he steals the ghost from Vlad because Vlad's a half two, and he steals the ghost from Vlad, and then Danny merges his ghost form, which can leave his body, his ghost form with Vlad's ghost form, and becomes Dark Danny. And this is a 100% ghost, not a half a. He literally pulled Danny's own body. Like I say, he separated from his human form and then killed it. Yeah, it was dark. It was dark. Anyway, so this was his initial strongest ability, and then Danny, under great stress, eventually used it. Now, originally, the Ghostly Wail was just this massive scream attack that could do massive damage, but the catch was that it was a one hit. It was a one shot use. All right, it drained Danny of his energy. As time went on, especially by season 3 and the series finale, it eventually became so he could use it at will just fine. So it's still dangerous for him to use, but it's this massive wave of ecto energy and power that can wipe out whole ghost. It literally defeated all of his future enemy counterparts. This is in the alternate timeline. In one shot, despite them being more powerful and Danny not being at the level of Dark Danny. So it's a really powerful thing. Danny has defeated so many ghosts and other enemies over the time of his superheroing. He has defeated enemies like Skulker, Ember, the Box Ghost, Lunch Lady, kid you not, Box Lunch, the child of Box, or the Box Ghost and Lunch Lady. Ew. He's defeated Aragon. He's defeated Technus. Oh, what was that one guy's name? The prison guard. I can't remember him, but like them's the rules. Yeah, that guy. He's defeated, of course. He's fought Vlad, who is a much more experienced Halfa, many times. He's technically never defeated him one-on-one, but we're not going to hold that against him. He has defeated Dark Danny. He has defeated Undergrowth and Phantasma. I think that was one of the names, right? And it's hard to remember them all. A Skulker, who is a literal ghost hunter, a ghost hunter. He's defeated Valerie, who was a human ghost hunter with tech meant to hurt ghosts, and more. He has defended the planet multiple times. He helped ally all the ghosts to save the human world from the Destructoid. Terrible name. He has resisted certain other effects. He has taken damage. He literally took shots from like every ghost ever, and he was fine. And this was in his human form. All right. So he has done some absolutely incredible things, and he did indeed save them all because he's Danny Phantom. So, Jake Long. He's cool. He's hot like the frozen sun. He's strong. He's fast. He's the chosen one. Even when I'm bragging, he's the American Dragon. Skip me to the end. From the J to the A to the K to the E. I'm the Mac Daddy Dragon of the NYC. Hard. So, in the realm of Jake Long, there are magical creatures. And the head of these magical creatures, the protector of them all, are the dragons. Now, Jake's mother was from the line of the Chinese dragons, but eventually she fell in love with an American. And she thus moved to New York. And while she herself did not have dragon abilities, her two children did, Jake and Haley Long. Now, Jake is the elder of the two, and he became the first ever American dragon. When his abilities started manifesting about 13, see, he's 13, not 14, he didn't really know what was going on. And then it was revealed to him by his mother, and then eventually his trainer, his grandfather, that the dragons are the protectors of the world. It is in his blood, and he has to train himself to becoming this hero and protector of the world and worlds. The problem, though, is that Jake's a teenager. He didn't want to be the American Dragon, and unlike a certain Phantom, he didn't really care that there was danger everywhere. He wanted to be with his friends. He wanted to go skateboarding. He wanted to be the Mac Daddy Dragon, and all that stuff. And of course, he wanted to be with his girl Rose. Hopeful girl Rose, I should say. Anyway, but through the training of his grandfather, who was a former major dragon in the Chinese world, he slowly became the true dragon, and it did indeed save the world multiple times over, which is good because there are many magical threats and human threats that Jake had to go up against. Now, not unlike Danny, Jake has a transformation. He goes dragon up, and he goes from the pint-sized teenager to a fully grown dragon. Now, sadly, our dragons in our culture, like Smog or Deathwing or something like that, yeah, they're not the norm in the Jake Long world. Think of him as like a more of a full-size adult, just with wings and a tail and scales and fire breath. So in this form, he literally has the capabilities and instincts and natural evolutions, I guess is the good word, of the dragons. For example, he has enhanced sight and hearing. His sight was able to see through a blizzard and track people despite the fact that it's a blizzard. He has what he calls dragon sight, where his eyes go red. He can see in infrared, which allows him to not just see in the dark, but also see undetectable enemies, like a ghost. And his hearing can detect sounds from many blocks away. He used it to help track people. and even see things he couldn't detect himself at times. So, and then of course he has dragon claws, which can rip through stone and steel with ease. His natural dragon body is strong enough to lift many tons. It's specifically stated that the dragons of the world can lift between 10 and 25 tons. However, not unlike a human, they can go beyond these abilities with enough stress. And Jake has proved this in the past. He has lifted well beyond 25 tons in certain instances, like fighting certain monsters that could crush buildings and lifting certain vehicles and withstanding certain attacks, etc., etc. His wings allow him to fly, obviously, and his speed is a little bit tricky to calculate. At one point in time, he had a dodge a meteor going 300 miles per hour, and he apparently went 299 and was able to dodge it. So that might be a max speed for him. Or in another case, it said that he flew around an island a couple times in a few seconds, which seems like more than 300 miles per hour for me. But it's cartoon logic. So what are you gonna do? And as I'll reveal a little later, there are still some other speed feats that calculate here. So yeah, he is incredibly fast and endurable. Obviously, his dragon scales that cover his body allow him to just absorb an immense amount of damage. Like he's been stomped on by 400-pound giants. There's no way they were 400 pounds. They were totally more than that. Maybe it was 4 tons. I don't remember now. He was stomped on by giants, like literally just, and he was fine. He's been blasted through buildings. He's been blasted enough to create a crater. He was, smacked around the city. He's been uh, blasted, contained, netted, caged, and all that, and he's been fine. Like he really can't hurt a dragon except for 2 ways. All right. Okay, 3 ways. One, obviously, their human form is totally vulnerable. They can't take much damage in that form. But in a dragon form, there's 2 real weaknesses. One is the underbelly. That's it's not exactly a weakness, more like a weak point. Okay, so if you punch a dragon in their underbelly just enough, you can actually get them to do involuntary flamethrower reflex, which Jake has shown many times, and it can also stun them. But the real kill point is their left ear. Okay. Apparently, this is their literal Achilles heel, to the extent that if you hit them in the left ear, it will cause them severe pain. And the Hunts clan, who we'll be getting to, the Hunts clan are able to use certain weapons to really pierce the ear and then kill them. So if you want to kill a dragon, that's the 3 ways you can do it, or I guess 2.5 ways you can do it. So over the course of his training and the 2 seasons of his TV show, he had to face various magical threats and human threats, including the Hunt clan, which were literally a clan of humans meant to capture and kill all magical creatures, including going up against dragons. They were literally trained to go up against dragons, and Jake had to fight them multiple times, including the Hunt clan leader and his granddaughter, Rose. Surprise! Rose is a bad guy. But she wasn't. She eventually turned to the side of good because the power of love. Disney. Gotta love it. Anyway, I was going to make a Frozen joke, but I'm just going to let it go. Anyway, so yeah, he's had to face the Hunt clan multiple times. He's had to face off against various magical creatures, including giants and goblins, trolls. He had to face dragons. He's had to face multiple dragons in his life, including one of his rivals and the Dark Dragon, which was the #1 dragon threat, or technically it was the threat to all magical creatures. All right, so he had to go up against the Dark Dragon, and he won. He had help from Rose, but he still won. He was able to rival various magical creatures in strength and speed and skill. Again, he's gone up against, despite being only 13, he's gone up against the Hunt clan, who were trained for years and years and years in how to defeat magical creatures, mainly because of his grandfather and his, grandpa master, and his training, because he's, of course, a very famed dragon himself. He's also got Fu, his talking dog. Yeah. So between all his training, he was able to go up against some of the most powerful magical creatures and defend the world against these creatures, both human and magical, multiple times. And eventually he did indeed get with Rose, which reminds me, Danny and Sam forever. Just saying. So yes, while it was hard, he had many, many hardships and a second season that had a different visual style that I still don't understand. The first season was better. He has proven himself worthy of the dragon lineage. Jake has matured a little, and he's just a really fun kid to be around. So don't mess with the American dragon, okay? All right, so here's where the tricky part is. How do we calculate who can beat who? Because this, again, is a little trickier than you all expected. First and foremost, can Jake harm ghosts? Yes, he can harm ghosts. In the season 2 episode of Ghost Story, a series of ghosts were aiming to possess the bodies of the campers via a soul transferal ritual. Any human that touched the ghosts went right through them, but Jake was able to hurt them. So dragons can hurt ghosts, and in fact, he can see ghosts via infrared, which because suddenly they're heat signatures. Sorry, hiccups. So yes, Jake can touch ghosts, which means that Danny's intangibility is virtually moot. Technically, of course, he can still, intangible all over the area, but that doesn't mean that he can just let Jake not do harm to him. And apparently, Dragonfire can't harm ghosts. I didn't specifically see that, but if it's intangibility versus, that, I'm pretty sure it'll work. Anyway, then of course there's invisibility. Danny can't use that either. Well, he can, but it will be harder to do because Jake's eyes can see in infrared, which means he can see in perfect dark and see heat signatures like Danny. And his dragon hearing will let him hear just about any sound. So even if for whatever reason Death Battle determines that Jake can't see Danny in his invisible form, which he can, his ears would pick up any sound that he makes. So all Jake would have to do is stay calm, be ready for the attack, and then react in turn. In terms of strength, speed, durability, they're actually pretty close. My dear friend Black Lightning was saying that Danny's got the greater strength feats. I think that he technically does. He's gone through reinforced titanium, which is one of the strongest metals on Earth. And keyword reinforced titanium, which means it was made extra strong. He literally blasted right through that. But Jake's no slouch himself. Again, he's thrown enemies around like it was nothing. He's battled the Dark Dragon, who is huge. He's pushed various vehicles, and I think he's even crashed into a building a couple times. And so even if it was unintentional, that's still a lot of strength that crunch into a building. And again, a dragon can lift over 25 tons. So again, they're pretty close in strength. I would give Danny the edge here. The speed is a trickier factor because if we go by the definitive recorded speeds, Jake is leagues faster because the 299 versus 112. However, it is specifically stated that Danny got faster in the series as it went on, and there are various feats that prove this, including going toe to toe with a possessed space shuttle that was moving away from him, and the average space shuttle speed, as I have looked up, is 17,500 miles per hour. And in another case, he flew from the Earth to space in less than a minute. Now, the Carmen line, if you recall the Lucy feat, all right, from Carnage versus Lucy, she sent her arms from the ground into space at an incredible velocity, also in under a minute. And that was a whole bunch of arms. So even if you just take one of them, and then, of course, the curvature of the Earth, but hashtag there's the curve, idiots. That's a bloopers joke. But yeah, he can go faster than that if we're taking this at face value. So yeah, even if we just use 17,500 as a base, technically Jake, to my knowledge, has never shown speeds faster than that. He did fly from the ground to the clouds in a few seconds, but not into space. So I'm going to take that as Jake is not faster than Danny. But even then, he can keep up with him because he's got his own reaction abilities. His dragon senses are very incredible. What this really boils down to, if we're being honest here, is who can kill the other. And I gotta lean to Danny, and here's why. While it's true that a dragon's three weaknesses are his human form, the underbelly, and the left ear, Jake really doesn't have anything to kill Danny. Okay, Danny can eventually have his ghost energy drained to revert him back to human form. But you can say the same about Jake, and because Jake's powered by chi, and then Danny's by ghost energy. Jake's fire can hurt ghosts, but Danny has cryomancy, which is frozen ghost fire. All right. Now, yes, dragon fire is stated to be hotter than even lava at points, but ghost fire, I would imagine, is pretty freaking hot. Also, Danny has energy shields, which have been shown to block flamethrowers. So even if it was an enhanced flamethrower, there's no reason to not think that Danny couldn't block it. And I know some of you out there are like, wait a minute, doesn't Danny and Jake both have duplication powers? They do. One problem. When Danny does a clone, he can do it perfectly, a literal perfect copy. Think of it like shadow clone technique with Naruto. It's a perfect clone. They can act on their own, and they can come back together and make them even stronger. When Jake does a clone, it severely depletes his chi, and he has to be in the right mindset to do the clone, otherwise they'll turn evil, which apparently happened in the episode because cartoons. Yeah. So if they were to go clone battle, Danny can make up to 4 clones without much effort. Jake could make a couple clones, but it would drain him of his chi, and he would have to bring them back together to make him stronger again. Think of like Cell games in Dragon Ball when Cell split himself into 4. Remember that? Yeah, Android 16. No, yeah, Android 16 was like, was it 19? Whatever. The Mohawk Android, was it 19? 1916? 1916. Whatever. Anyway, he said that the 4 split clones were not as powerful as the singular Goku. It's that kind of thing, okay? So Jake's abilities are powerful, but he really doesn't have a way to kill Danny. Danny technically is going to have a hard time beating Jake, but he's fought, just like Jake has fought ghosts, Danny's fought dragons. All right, and he's fought ghost dragons, and very powerful ghost dragons. He's fought the Hydra, the ghost version of the Hydra. He's fought ghost gods, and so on and so forth. He's fought, mechanical monsters, gadgets designed to kill him. He's beaten his own dark self. So, and then of course there's the biggest. I was gonna do a pun here, but I'm just gonna stop. The biggest elephant in the room. Danny can possess Jake. I looked everywhere I could to see if Jake has a counter for the possession ability. He doesn't. And because of the rules of Overshadow, Jake will not remember that Danny possessed him. So all he has to do, technically, is if things get hairy, he flies into Jake, which I admit will not be easy because of his senses and everything, but it'll happen eventually. He'll be able to possess him, do what he wants, and then can set him up for a major attack. And then technically, I don't know if this will be a true statement, but theoretically, if he possesses Jake, he can power him down. So it'd be very kind of like a Ben 10 Green Lantern situation where Green Lantern went to when he was a kid and killed him. They might do the same thing here. So you just power him down, and then hit him with the Ghost Will, he's dead. So it's closer than you might suspect, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the numbers on their strength and speed and agility and endurance. But while they are both incredibly tough cartoon characters, and both heroes that are deserving of our praise, Danny's versatility and his breadth of abilities and less complicated abilities in regards to like duplication and the Ghost Whale and Overshadow make this a little bit more of a clear-cut victory for him. So I am picking Danny Phantom. So with that, I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win in the battle between Danny Phantom and the American Dragon Jake Plum? And how was my singing? Please say it was good. I don't want you to be like Simon Cowell. Let me know in the comments below. So I thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you're listening, and I'll see you around.